Good to go?
Yep.
Holy shit.
You're on. You're live.
Holy cow, we're live?
We are.
Nobody told me we'd be live. Does that mean people are watching? People are listening? Holy cow. It can't be. It can't possibly be. We're firing things up here, folks. Oh, there we are. Okay, so we are firing things up. They're tapping phone lines. You know that they ain't allowed. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so let's get a couple other things going here. This is a very professional operation. Actually, the producer is very professional. The web guy is very professional. It's a guy in front of the camera who could probably use a little help. Okay.
Thank you for calling Call-In Studios host and call screener line. Please enter your show number and press pound. Enter your 6-digit PIN number. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-In Studio web interface.
Holy cow, we are live. We are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn free, civilly disobedient media, broadcasting live on the Worldwide Coalition Radio Network here at, the headquarters of the Worldwide Coalition Radio Network. Holy cow. You mean people might be listening? Anyone a fan of the Honeymooners? Ralph Cramden? There's a classic episode where he comes up with some type of Vegematic or something. It slices, it dices. and he's got it down. Now remember, Ralph Kramden is every man. And like every man, he meets his match every time, somehow, something. The term in the 60s from Casey Stengel was nothing less than we will snatch defeat from the hands of victory. Well, that was the story of Ralph Kramden. So throughout the entire show, he's working up to his big moment. He's going to be on TV. He's going to have an opportunity to pitch his dream product. This could be the break he's been waiting for. And in the moments before he goes on air, the astonishing, the amazing Norton says to Ralph something effective, and just think, Ralph, millions of Americans will be watching you. And Ralph Kramden's eyes go wide as only Ralph Kramden's eyes can go. And he freezes up. And he does a famous habit. And so goes another choice as the camera fades to dark. We'll try not to do that here. We were supposed to be on the air about an hour ago, but we had an opportunity to work with our ace web guy. There are a handful of people here who are working diligently behind the scenes. Super web guy Frank, super producer Joel, who somehow have managed to put together quite the pretty good operation. If you're looking for references for people to do this kind of stuff, I might share them with you. I might. Don't want to lose these guys. They're amazing. And they're patient. You know, there are 300 things to do to start something like this at any one time simultaneously. Never mind. You know, you just don't have the luxury in the midst of a pandemic and an international health crisis where international incidents are the subject du jour, to just kind of quietly map this out. You just kind of do it, and you fix things on the fly. So, 401-205-3738. Let me see if I get that right. Earlier, I got my web link wrong. I'm the guy who did it. Yikes. So, if you want to talk about something, if you want to vent, you want to complain, you want to kvetch, please do. 401-205-3738. In the meantime, we're going to go back to work on the website. See, we can try and do 2 or 3 things here once. So, holy cow. It's bright in here. You think it was mid-afternoon. You'd think it was mid-afternoon, lad. So what's got you going? What is it, Gina's latest prognostications? Depending on who you talk to at any one minute, whatever website you happen to go, whichever side of the aisle you happen to support, well, there's a different result. Different narrative, different rhetoric. I love Drudge. The great thing about the Drudge Report is at any one moment, at any point in time, the world is going to get hit by a giant asteroid. Drudge isn't half empty or half full. We just built a new house, and you know that bomb they planted at the end of Armageddon when Bruce Willis saved the world? It didn't work. And it's heading right to you. That's Drudge, man. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I'm going to panic like a stuck you-know-what. So that's one extreme. Then, of course, you've got the different political perspectives. Not even going to go there. There are volunteer fact-checking teams on both sides going nuts with all their free time. By the way, that brings up a question. How are you using this free time? Did you, like I, decide to get together with a few people and expand an operation in these days immediate before the apocalypse? Woohoo! Timing is everything. Or are you just chilling? There's a great meme running around the internet where there's some guy passed out on the couch. And it says, 2019, lazy bastard. 2020, American hero. So it's astonishing. After the horrific attacks at 9/11, the American hero became the consumer. In year 2020, in the midst of this immense tragedy, the American hero is now the couch jockey. I could do both. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio. On the Mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio. And, of course, coalitionradio.us. Trying to put this all together. Did you notice proper sleeve etiquette? Mom would be proud. And the song that I keep still hearing is Talking Heads, Life During Wartime. By the way, I learned the other day that if I leave the stream open accidentally, and I go on my little Chromebook, start to do some work, cameras are off, think we're all set, and then proceed to play the entire audio soundtrack of Stop Making Sense from Talking Heads, that yes, YouTube will hunt you down like the dog you are. Holy cow, that was unexpected. Got about 8 messages. I expected a legal team to be dropped in by parachute at any moment. Hey, folks are on the air, 401-205-3738. Give us a call if you want to vent, talk. That was 401-205-3738. It's right up there. So, the issues of the day. What culpability does the government have in this situation? Is it, in fact, their failure to address the situation properly? And let's not go back to prior presidents and say they did this or they did that. We're faced with a situation now. How culpable were the government practices that were in place in the run-up to this in preventing our ability to respond quickly? That's my chief issue. If the free market had been allowed to generate additional capacity at their own risk, by the way, I would say we'd be in a much better position. If the free market was allowed to dictate who and what they wanted to manufacture, that's my thing. How appropriate is the state-by-state response in terms of addressing the civil liberties attached to the free exchange of people? Where's Gina right? Gina wrong if you happen to live in Rhode Island. If you live in another state, I sure like to find out what it is that your state's doing and how you feel about it. Too much, too wrong, too little, too right? Or like the Three Bears, just right. Another meme that was circulating today on the net was, in fact, a group of cities. You saw pictures as to the response in cities like New York, which have become, and I have immediate family that lives in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens, which have become ghost towns that people have, to use, I believe, one of the worst words in the human language, and that is hunker down. Then you've got pictures of Providence where people are just chilling. Just chilling. Out at parks. I haven't seen that many Rhode Islanders out in a park, present company included, quite the while. So every day, the heat gets turned up on the whole hashtag knock it off. What is the line? That's something I'm happy to have a conversation about. Too much of talk radio, by the way, if you're dialing in for the first time or watching for the first time, too much of talk radio is about following the narrative of the host. I don't have a narrative. I am not that interesting a human being. I'm much more interested in what you have to say, what your thoughts are, your unique responses to this. We have no mute button here. I have a drop button if you say something nasty personal about people, or if you engage in slander. But I'm not going to mute you. I believe that to be eminently disrespectful. Well, people piling up in the lines, I might ask you to kind of gently get to the point. But as someone who has been a fan of talk radio pretty much my entire adult life, I love it. Anyone who knows me personally or lives in the Rhode Island area knows that I am a creature of talk radio. I consider it to be talk radio America's town hall, where individuals get to take on the high and the mighty. Because usually the high and mighty have defined themselves as high and mighty. I can remember one of the first conversations that I had with someone who was a big kahuna, kind of a chief water buffalo. A member of the Clinton administration who was forced to resign, in part because he had a foot fetish. Doesn't matter who he was. It's been years. So I was listening to Marianne Sorrentino on AM radio in Rhode Island, and anyone who's a little older in Rhode Island remember her. To define Marianne as irreverent would be the great understatement of the world. She takes on the world. She fears no one. At a time when no one challenged the Catholic Church, she overtly did so. At a time when no one challenged the status quo, she overtly did so. At a time when no one pointed out the rampant misogyny and sexism in Rhode Island's government, whew, holy cow. She challenged every conception that current society had and feared no one. Outstanding radio. Outstanding conversation. But always respected the guest. There were times when she had little or no respect whatsoever for, when I should say, she always had respect for the caller. The political official that could be on, she could openly loathe. And while she was polite, she would not overtly loathe them, but the tone of voice gave it all. So I just remember the time she had this Clinton official on, and he had just gotten canned for having the foot fetish. All right, and it was pretty funny stuff at the time, pretty shocking, because we're going back a ways now, where this is long before, you had free porn on the internet. Okay, so he had just debuted as, I believe, as a Fox host. This was also one of the first people to parachute out of government into being a talking head on the talking head shows. And so so Marianne, I called in and she said, well, first of all, I want to ask you a question. How did you feel about so-and-so last night show? And I said, well, in my mind, he committed the worst sin of all, the very worst sin of all. He was boring and pedantic. Okay? So I said that live in the air because, it was on, I believe it was at the time it was WPRO, AM 630. All right? By the way, it was Dick Morris. That's who it was. So she asked me, well, how did you feel about Dick Morris's appearance on TV yesterday? I said, I was just bored. And without missing a beat, she goes, Dick, he said you were boring. Turned out Dick Morris was actually on hold on cue to be the next guest. I had no idea. Simultaneously, I was mortified. I was impressed. I laughed. And then I had the realization that I had told a former chief of staff in a presidential administration exactly what I thought through the miracle of talk radio. I told him he was boring. And he heard it loud and clear. Now, I doubt he even remembers that. I doubt maybe he didn't even care. But over the last 20 years or so, there's a tradition in Rhode Island talk radio where you can take on the high, the mighty. You can challenge them from remote, or you can challenge them on the air. And that's the tradition that I want to emulate here. That's the tradition I'm proud of. But let me know if you've got a take on this. 401-205-3738. We're in the first few days of operation here. There's sort of a lonely element out there. When you're starting something new, you're starting something from scratch, and you're hoping people will participate. You're starting a business. You open up that pizza restaurant, and there's 5 pizza restaurants down the street. I often wonder when someone opens up a pizza restaurant, what do they say to themselves? I'm addressing a pressing market need. I'm addressing a There's demand on this street for pizza. That the pizza restaurant 3 doors down or 3 blocks down can't fulfill that need? Or I'll take the American excellence route. The determination that they've got the best freaking pizza going. And that they got the best service going and the best environment going and the best ambiance going. There's no shortage of people doing the talking heads thing. There's no shortage of people engaging in talk radio. I just think we've found a way to do it better here over the last few years when we've been primarily a conversational long-form interview program. We talk about being outrage porn free. What do we mean by that? We will not lower the show or the content or the conversation simply to prey upon your personal outrage. I'm not interested in having a conversation with somebody who is there solely to gin up clicks. There's enough of that out there. There are real issues, real point of views, real conversations to be had. Life is too short. I'm never one of those folks at a cocktail party where I can sit up there and talk about the weather or talk about the Red Sox or whatever, or talk about Tom Brady or whatever the crisis du jour was before this madness came along. I'll just never be that person. I'm that person at the party who's having an in-depth conversation with someone who, A, might be really into it, or B, is desperately trying to get away, who gets really annoyed when someone just walks up and interrupts with some innocuous question. I'm that person. Even if the person I was talking to is desperately looking for someone to come up and break up the conversation with an innocuous question. I'm incapable of light conversation. I'd much rather know how you feel about an issue. And there are so many things to talk about. Even today, when the news is pressing, when there's only one issue that is truly on or in the back of everyone's minds, people still want to talk about Tom Brady, if for nothing else, and to change the subject lighthearted. People want to talk about the concerts that they were going to see that were canceled, but they can't wait to see them because hope springs eternal, and we will get through this. People want to talk to their really close friends about some quirky observation they made based on the fact that their husband or wife or whatever is suddenly in close confines with them for the first time since they were probably in college or dated or were living together. Before the kids, before all those complexities of life. And what they love about it and what's driving them absolutely crazy. For every baby boom or every baby that's born as a result of the last week or so, how many breakups, how many down and out, I can't believe you said that fights are going to happen. That's the stuff of human life. There's people besides me who decided to do a business 2 weeks ago. There's plenty of them out there. Rhode Island is rife with folks who are aggressively expanding retail storefronts, particularly in the food scene. We have the best restaurants here on the planet. I just pray that somehow, probably through sheer force of will, that as many as possible survive this. Legion are the ones that have had to lay people off. Talented staff that had learned to work in clockwork. I recently had the ability to observe firsthand a restaurant in full operation, a complicated, high-end restaurant on a weekend night. It is magnificent to watch. The sheer arrays of talents, personalities, the skills, the chemistry, the teamwork. You know, we simply plop down our $20 or $30 or more, or maybe even less. And we just expect magic to happen. Pixie dust, food magically appears. It's a symphony, folks. Do it sometime. Ask a friend who's got a restaurant if you can just sit back there and watch for a half hour. You'll be blown away. Rhode Islanders have managed to replicate that type of effort at that highest skill level hundreds of times across the city on a nightly basis. So these symphonies were taking place everywhere. That's not something to take for granted. I've traveled a lot in this country. We are blessed here in Providence. For all our challenges, we are blessed by the fact that we've got an opportunity to take advantage of all of it. And for so many reasons. By New England standards, moderate rent. One of the finest culinary schools on the planet, right in our downtown. The finest art school in the world, which combines with all of those other skills to make a unique sensibility. That, in fact, is Providence, Rhode Island. That doesn't happen accidentally. What do you think? 401-205-3738. I'll be talking for the next couple hours. I find myself to be remarkably self-entertaining. I think I'm witty, erudite, full of personality. For the handful of people who are watching right now, give us a shot. Because if you don't call in, I got to work on the website. And I got to do adult things here to the business, organizational stuff, while I talk into the mic. But nothing makes a night like this, where there is seemingly so much wrong, so much at risk, so much chaos out in the world, flow through than a conversation with, well, someone new or someone you know. And there is so much to talk about. And so little of it has to involve actually our government. If you come from a Christian tradition, the holiest week of the year is coming up. How do you feel? What are your thoughts about the fact that, in a sense, it's being taken away from you? And what I mean that is the communal offering that churches around Rhode Island and around the country make. There's a certain element of folks who come home, if you will, for these holy days, Christmas, Easter. Through the incredible technology that allows me to talk to you today, allows widespread church activities to be held for really the first time around the country. Of course, I'm not talking about, there's been religious shows on TV since the very, very, very beginning. Some of them wonderful, some of them clearly aimed at people's wallet. But never before have individual ministries been able to harness this technology, because it's so affordable and so accessible now, in such a way as to deliver their unique message to their flock. I had the opportunity several years ago to take, if you will, the lay speaking course for the United Methodist Church. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I am, in fact, a blabbermouth. I mean, if you're listening to me right now, I can talk for hours, go from subject to subject. I can do that. Yet I got up there in front, and part of it because one of the final issues of the class was to actually deliver a sermon. I struggled over that. I had no idea what to say to people. Part of it was the profound recognition, at least profound at that time, that who the hell was I to preach to someone? Yeah. Who was I? And what do I say to people? You know, most sermons are delivered in person. You're 20 or 30 yards away from that one person that you're trying to mask an anecdote about. You're looking at these people right in the eye, and they know you. Boy, do they know you. And you're expected there to preach to them, to talk to them? Ha! Wow, that was an adventure. I hemmed and hawed my way through that. The minister was very kind. Oof. Very, very kind. So, this Easter, as I think all religious events going forward, are supported by the notion that if you can't be there, you can, in ways heretofore thought impossible. This will forever change how people communicate with each other. The technology that's going to be enhanced, because largely it exists, developed in order to facilitate the remote communication of groups of people with teachers, religious leaders, political leaders, fellow workers, business people, lawyers, on and on, is going to be profound. Ironic that the inability to speak in person will only enhance the ability to speak to someone remotely. That's a whole other subject. Again, something like this, a startup effort aimed at providing an alternative to talk radio in a visual method where you could call in, by the way, hint, hint, 401-205-3738. By the way, 9:15 tomorrow, we're going to have Sam Bell. We've got a few people lined up. Tomorrow evening, we're going to have Mark Whitney. He's running for the presidency of the United States. That's at 8. Thursday, we're going to have Mike Underwood, I believe, on. He's a local business person. Folks, if you know somebody out there who is looking just to pitch their business, that somehow they've found a way to carve out a business that they can work with, a portion of the business, stay open, have them reach out to us. Like us on the Facebook at facebook.com/The Coalition Radio. Just send me a message. We'd be happy to have them on the air. It's one click of a button, and we can have a guest remotely piped right into the studio with video. We'd be happy. We'd be thrilled, actually, in order to bring people. We do get, when we have our pre-scheduled interviews, we get a few thousand people at a time will watch this. So if we can deliver your message to support your business, that actually is our patriotic duty. We need to connect in this day and age open businesses with potential customers, whether it be something they can do now, something you can get a quote on for when this passes, and it will pass. Whatever we can do to generate free market commerce for people, that's the kind of stuff that can lift people up. Because the most important part of this work as Americans, if you will, is our ability to get back to work. We are worker bees. Most of us aren't taking this couple weeks off to pass out on the couch. A little bit of that. But I know that the crew here, Frank, Joel, myself, and a few other people are helping us, are, in addition to holding together remote versions of their full-time jobs, are doing whatever they can to put this together. 401-205-3738. Ultimately, it's a function of what do you do with your life and opportunities that are accorded you. Oh, we do have a caller. Huzzah. Calling from a distant area code. Hi, is this Dave? Welcome to the Coalition Talk Radio in our second week of operation. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am. We came on the air for a couple hours tonight. We got a full list of people coming on, guests coming on tomorrow. But I was just drawn to this microphone. What can I say? It just calls me.
I look at my phone and I get a little notification. The Coalition is live as I'm laying my head down to bed, and I got to listen to a little bit of this.
Yeah, one of the great movies, one of the great film noirs of all time from American media, of course, is Young Frankenstein. And what is it they say? Won't listen to the rantings of a lunatic madman. There's a lot of people in this country right now who are up who really need to go to bed. Me being probably one of them. Now your area code tells me that you're in the Maryland area. How is Maryland holding up? Are they making you wear ankle bracelets if you go outside?
we're on lockdown. Yeah, they'll pull you over if you're not doing the right thing. You can only do certain things, and that's for a good reason. You know, you can go get food, go get groceries, medical care, but let's be smart about things. You know.
Do you include a good thing driving to a remote studio and attempting to reach the masses?
Well, only if your job is essential. So,
are you saying you're not saying I'm essential, are you?
Well, I don't know. It's how it's defined by the governor. So, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Not a fan.
So what? I'm calling up to find out what's happening here. So you're on every night now, or how is the schedule set up?
We're trying to do a kind of a Tuesday to Sunday thing where we're on every night from 9 till whenever, and then we've got as you get closer to the weekend, we've got a lot of scheduled guests. On Friday night, we traditionally we were always on from 6 to 9. And so now what we're doing is kind of mixing that up a little bit. There's some national programming that I participate in for the Libertarian Party from 8 to 9. And then from 9 to 12, we'll go open mic and have people call in if people are awake. And then, you know, it's a little, you know, I'd love to get this running to where it's, 15, 18 hours a day. We had folks who were interested in doing shows, and it's, they've been kind of put on hold because of the issue. And so we're working with it to see how it looks and whether or not it translates well to have them host the show remotely. We have the capability of doing that. It's just a question of, whether it works for the whether it works for the listener / viewer. So we're going to be on a lot, 5-6 nights a week. Probably just Monday be off to pass out and let the voice rest. Talking for 3 hours nonstop, as you can imagine, does take a toll.
It's rough.
Well, I mean, it almost sounds like I finally reached puberty. The boys have dropped. The Irish, we start late, folks. But hey, my last viewers just hung up. It's you and me, Dave. But no, that's the goal.
But it will live on.
Yeah, there you go. But that's the goal, to be on as often as possible. Particularly if we can deliver guests or people who want to call in. There's established talk radio shows here in Rhode Island that are run by adults, and they do very well all day. And people aren't used to having late night talk radio. Even nationally, there aren't a lot of talk radio shows left. That you're down in the Baltimore area. What kind of truly live radio emanates locally? In terms of either sports or talk radio, as opposed to the canned stuff, which is brought in by satellite.
Well, most of it's syndicated. There's maybe one show I can think of, sports talk, locally here in Baltimore, and then down in D.C. there's another. They have sports talk all day long because it's always about the Redskins. They love their Redskins, but there's a lot of problems. It's tough to be a fan now. Well, not that I am. So,
well, you're a fan of the Baltimore Colts, right? Sorry.
Yes. Yes, and then we got the Redskins shoved down our throat. Thank goodness the Ravens came to town.
Well, absolutely. And thanks to you, I do have a purple Ed Reed Ravens T-shirt, which I...
Yes, you do.
And folks who know me personally know that I work within visual distance of Gillette Stadium, the home for your former world champion New England Patriots. All I can say is Jets, Jets. The rest of the division's coming for you. I think they're in for a little bit of a rude awakening this year. How about you? What do you think?
I don't know that they're even going to play football this year.
Do you think? Now, a serious question here. Now, do you? My concern is that they turn the lights back on for a lot of stuff too early, and there are people who will then that are still carrying and there will be a second round of it because all of a sudden we'll be crammed into subways again together. Do you see this going into the fall?
Well, they keep talking about flattening the curve. This isn't going to be a curve. This is going to be a sine wave. This is going to go up and down and up and down until we get a way to mitigate it, in the form of a vaccine,
right,
or something. We're just going to keep reinfecting and dealing with that situation. So that's my opinion.
No, I believe you to be right. All of a sudden, you're going to get into the debates about forced vaccinations and all that, but ultimately, biomed will become. I often wonder if a few thousand years ago, these type of events, which I believe happen organically, they are created by chance, because the probability of these being created when you have a complex ecosystem is immense. So they're created by chance, and I wonder years ago, millions of years ago, if these weren't the type of things that wiped out entire populations. And now all of a sudden we're able to mitigate them or fight them at some level. But if in fact we're not just, you're right, until we actually find a way to be, and listen, I mean, you look at the incredible computing technology we have and the power we have and the iterations that can be run on one problem because of the supercomputer power we have. I mean, there is the potential to engage in mass mitigation, but I think psychologically, I think we have to adapt to the fact that, like you said, this isn't just the difference between this, as so many people have pointed out, and say a 9/11 was that the 9/11 was an event that was finite in nature. It happened. It was horrible.
Yeah.
People died. And then that was it.
Yeah.
What,
that's true.
Now, is in Maryland, is the response statewide? Is you know how I'd say Baltimore? Is Baltimore? Yeah, is that coming up with is that coming up with its own solutions, or is everything statewide?
No, it's pretty statewide. From what I understand, though, I was listening to a speech by the governor today where he had asked the federal government to step in and raise up. We've got a lot of people who work in the government here. We've got the NSA. We've got a number of people who live in the counties, and they have. It sounds like our counties have been raised up in priority if something were to come through here. We're expecting the wave to come right down through New Jersey and Pennsylvania, right through the city.
Mm-hmm.
They keep predicting that's kind of how things are going to happen. But hey, if we all bunker down, and maybe we can minimize it. But it sounds like the federal government and Trump have agreed that these are important counties, and they'll keep an eye on us. So
the within the city of Baltimore, it's a tough city that's taken a lot of shots over the last few years. Is there within the city itself? Is there widespread? We don't have a budget yet for the cough button. Yeah. I was gonna say we don't
widespread.
we don't have the budget yet here at this station for the mute and the cough button. But listen, folks, there is a Patreon link and a PayPal link at coalitionradionetwork.com. Your dollars count. We are listener supported, and we have donors who are sponsors as well. So feel free, if the spirit moves you, to join in at coalitionradionetwork.com. But we are joining right now with Dave on the line. He's as we like to say, he's from the Severna Park area. He's one of our frequent callers. So thanks, Dave.
Let me count it on one hand. 1, 2.
Yeah, that makes you a veteran caller. Listen, every sports radio, every sports radio station has got those handful of callers that everybody knows. There was a guy, his name was Butch from the
The
Cape.
personalities.
Yeah, they become almost part of the station. And there was a guy, Butch from the Cape, years ago, who was a regular caller to WEEI in Boston. And as I remember correctly, he was a Yankee fan. And when Butch left this, when Butch left this mortal coil, they actually had like a moment of silence on the station. They had a segment where people called in with their favorite Butch calls. I mean, that's a fan. And he was great. He was, quite frankly, he was better than one of the hosts. And I think a lot of the hosts realized that.
Yeah.
So they were listen, when I'm in interview mode, that's really hard work. If I'm running a talk radio segment and someone calls in, I'm all about it. Have at it. The dial is yours. I'll be back in a half hour.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what you need, some interaction, and I know you like to talk, but I sit here and I watch you, and it's like, oh goodness, should I sit here and watch the show, or should I call in? So.
Well, folks, we're not above mercy calls, particularly in our first week or so of operation, as people either A, don't know who we are and don't know where to call yet. That's the optimistic viewpoint, or B, actually know me, and I'm like, screw that, I ain't calling that motherfucker. He'll never let me off the line. By the way,
I can pet.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, how is Joe Flacco?
I could just. Joe Flacco, boy, what a memory.
Well, he was actually his name's been bandied about by folks as a possible Patriot at one point. I mean, they were going through all the lists.
I'm a big Joe fan. I believe Joe would put the ball there, and the receiving core that we had just wasn't up to standards, And there were a lot of anti-Joe fans as well. But even up there in Boston, they saw what happened as far as when the Cundiff field goal went wide. The play before that, we had a touchdown, and their defender knocked the ball out of our receiver's hand. Which way
did it go?
Lay that ball.
Did it go wide left or wide right?
I think it was wide right. Yeah. Well, you know what we decided to do. We got another kicker, so I believe at some point in time, our guy will have the longest field goal in league history. So,
hey, listen, the Pats dumped Gostkowski. That was, during the
that's pretty brutal.
During the entire Patriot reign, if you will, there was really only been two kickers, and they've both been amazingly good. It's there hasn't, and the success in replacing him has been pretty brutal. So I mean, it's not happy times for the Patriots at any level.
We were pretty blessed. We had Matt Stover, who was just about our only point machine early on in the 2000s, and to get Justin Tucker is even better. And I didn't think there could be anyone better. So you need all parts of your game going to compete.
You do. So
yeah.
So tomorrow you're going to get up, and what is a day in quarantine in Baltimore hold for you? I mean, is it literally, will you go out tomorrow? I mean, this is the week, by the way, they're predicting the quote unquote the worst. To be the worst, really, on the 95 corridor. Sort of DC to Boston. What is it? Are you do you feel like you're in a good position with food and everything you need?
Oh yeah. I'm one of the lucky ones. I mean, I do software development, so I'm able to work from home, connect into work, and we use the Microsoft Teams and have our little virtual meetings, and you know, have our ability to just do our jobs. And we've got customer service that get the calls in, and you know, there's work to be done, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, no, it's that don't. I could tell you don't, but if anyone else should be in that position, don't take that for granted. There are so few jobs in America at this point where you can, where their business model combines with their workflow, because you need both, to allow you to continue employment and to be continued paid at a normal rate. Yours does, teaching does. You know, there's a bunch of corporate jobs where people have been able to hold on to. But for example, I'm on layoff right now. I need to be blunt. If anyone's listening,
Okay.
I mean, it's I sell. I made no bones about it for years now. I sell commercial trucks. The service of said has been deemed essential by the powers to be, but the sales of such are not. And as a result, the organization that I work for kept us on literally to the minute that the governor said we had to close. So they were, as far as employers go, there's not much more you can ask for. Even though business had been difficult for about 2 weeks going into it, because people were becoming cognizant, aware of the severity of the situation, and they kind of made decisions for themselves. So it's if you find yourself in that position, God bless.
Yeah.
Now, are you
my son?
Yeah.
Well, my son is a physical therapy assistant, and they had to let them go, and that's all. While it's in healthcare, you're interacting with the public, and the public, when something like this is going on, really doesn't want hands-on contact or anything,
Right.
So yeah, depending on your vocation, this really sucks.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of our listeners, Joe, who's from the Providence area, who's a pal too. The CD. There's quite a bit of controversy about how the CDC is defining death or the cause of death, and whether or not it was truly the corona crisis, or whether it was the existence, much like, say, pneumonia or H1N1 or any one of these afflictions would exacerbate an already declining situation. And that's an important analysis that has to be arrived at. I mean, folks, we have to have a national conversation about the intellectual honesty of the underlying numbers. That means a lot, because it's only in understanding the numbers without assigning them political implications that we can frame a response. That's a critical calculation. Go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
Well, what's sobering is that we just crossed the line for 10,000 deaths. Okay, and what they're predicting on the low side would be 100,000. So, we're at the point where we got to go 10 times what we're at now. That just boggles my mind. And they're talking 100,000 to 250,000. Being a good outcome. So we've got quite a bit ahead of us if that's a true statement. As far as the models and all that. It will be very sobering.
Yeah, no, and I believe that to be true. I just don't see. It'd be wonderful if we dodge that bullet, but again, if the country, because of political pressures, and they can be many from both sides, if you will, if the country reopens for business too early because of political pressure, then I believe the result will be just a reoccurrence, as we said earlier. There needs to be political, free, honest conversations. And I mean, do you think this country, based from where you're at, You live, within shouting range of the Beltway. You work within shouting range of the Beltway. Is this a country that's capable of doing that?
Wow. I don't know. We're going to find out, aren't we?
Find out damn soon.
I know I'm in a high risk group, so I'm hunkered down. I'm not going out, and I'm limiting any kind of contact. But yeah, I've seen enough out there where there's varying degrees of people taking it seriously, but I do know that our governor's taken it seriously, and so the state is trying its best. But unfortunately, we need a nationwide shutdown. If the way some of the states are not taking it seriously is scary.
No,
like having a bunch of people in your pool, and all you need is that one little section to pee and get to the rest of us.
You mean it'll be worse than the blue ink that everyone warned us about when we were in college?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to stay on as long as we can during the duration of this. We're going to bring on guests that in one level will address this, and other levels, because and meanwhile, the presidential election continues. There will be a presidential election. There will be, there will be a break during the summer, in which case we've got to have a national conversation about whether or not we resume in-person education again. These are all things that I wonder about. And, I'd love it if as people get to know about this a little bit more, if people would call in and just give us their opinion. Again, on this show, there's no right, there's no wrong. We are judgment-free. There's the hosts that are here, primarily myself right now, but others are not going to be involved in, muting people or dumping people unless they engage in really egregious behavior. How do we unless people have a chance to openly evoke their opinions, how do we have a real national conversation? Because it isn't just what the experts would deign to force on us. If you don't have that conversation and you don't have that acceptance, and to your point about different states in the country, different states around the country, where there's better behavior than others, clearly some of the responsibility, not all, because if people are going to behave irresponsibly, at a certain level, there's not only so much you can do, but that also, I believe, speaks to a failure of a number of government officials to really have that conversation, to not sugarcoat the numbers, not enhance the numbers, but to accurately portray and have a conversation about what's exactly at stake here and what needs to happen. And we need a little bit more of that. Well, Dave, thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
How is there?
Going to hit the hay and
give us a sound check. How do we sound down in Greater Savannah Park? How's the signal?
You do sound good. I mean, it's through it's through the internet. So
the dulcet tones of the velvet fog.
Hey, I've got my Verizon FiOS.
How's the host doing? Is he? Is he the host with the most?
He is the host with the most. Is that what you want your moniker to be?
I'm not sure. I just always admired those 1970s, 60s hosts. Where they, I want a jingle, and I want the chorus singing behind me. On the big,
I'll have to work on that for you then.
Okay.
I used to make your political posters back in college. It didn't get you elected.
Nah, it didn't. But it was fun.
We had a lot of fun.
There you go.
We had a lot of fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
We'll come up with.
Well, please,
the voice of reason.
Don't be a stranger. By the way, I'll leave with this.
I won't.
I want a yes or no answer. Did you ever think you'd see the day where a measurable part of my week would be spent working on the legalization of all drugs, including cannabis?
No, not at all.
Not one little
and especially the shows earlier in the week. Ooh.
Oh, we got a couple more of those. That's actually, there are a couple. There's a couple battles we fight routinely. First of all, as a libertarian, I believe in the legalization of all drugs. I believe it's an individual's choice, as long as they do harm to no one else. We at the coalition here believe in the decriminalization of sex work. Consensual sex work for hire is I don't even call it a victimless crime because there's no victim and there's no crime. Two people just decide to do their thing. So there's a variety of causes that I'm also unabashedly in favor of and support the Second Amendment. I believe that the right to bear arms is a fundamental birthright, not even a constitutional right per se. I go well beyond that. The right to bear arms and self-defense. So yeah, I'm just about a freaking anarchist at this point. Who'da thunk?
You're going to have to drop the porn free from your little moniker saying there.
No, we're outrage porn free. All right, we are not even remotely porn free. All right. Wait till you see some of the program we've got coming up. All right. Again, God bless the internet and free speech. All right, I'll just leave it there for you. All right, but I think you got if you listened to shows the other night, you got a flavor. All right,
I can just imagine what's coming at us.
I'll spare singing Desperado to you. Good night. Listen, Dave from Severna Park, joining us live, a frequent offender here on the Coalition. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We're going to take a quick break right now, which means I'm going to do the same level of talking, just in a different manner. We are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn free, civilly disobedient media, broadcasting live on the Worldwide Coalition Radio Network here, at the bunker, at the headquarters, if you will, of the Coalition Radio Network. Facebook.com/the Coalition Radio. On the mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio. And, of course, the mothership at coalitionradio.us. Join us tonight if you have a moment. We're going to be up for a few hours. 401-205-3738. We've got a couple of great shows coming up in the next day or two. Tomorrow morning, early, 9:15, Senator Sam Bell, himself a freaking offender on the Coalition, who's appeared a number of times, is going to be coming in and talking about COVID-19, the state budget, civil liberties. Should the Senate convene? A lot of controversy here in Rhode Island because, generically speaking, in the American model of government, you've got the executive branch, and you've got the three co-equal branches: the executive branch, the judiciary, and you've got the legislature. And the legislature is pretty usually teamed with the concept of budgets, money, and all that. Well, the legislature has not met since this crisis, since the state of the emergency was imposed, and there are those who are screaming for it because at this point in time, our governor, Gina Raimondo, is Herr General on the streets. If you're a Rhode Islander and you would love to come up with your interpretation of Herr General, what good job she's doing, do you have an issue with her interpretation of your civil rights? How do you balance civil rights and civil liberties in a pandemic? How do you do it? What wins, what loses? Where does the quote-unquote, my libertarian friends will cringe when they hear me say this, where does the greater good come in? Or does it? Those are the kind of questions, conversations we have. So, joining us tomorrow is Sam Bell at 9:15. Let's see, that is Wednesday night. We've got presidential candidate Mark Whitney. Thursday, someone that I've been working to get on the show for quite a while. Her name is Chase. Let's see if I can pronounce that correctly. She is a head of the Orleans, New York Libertarian Party. And on Friday, Another frequent offender, Paul Roselli, he of the Burrowville Invenergy Fight fame, is going to be joining us at 8 o'clock. Libertarian National Programming will take over the airwaves from here. An hour with the candidates, where we interview candidates literally from around the country. All aspects of what's called in the political game down ballot races: governors, state senators, representatives, municipal candidates. Talk to them, talk about the challenges that they face in their races. And that's just the beginning. Sometime in the next week or two, we'll have Professor Andy Hernandez in again. He, of course, of the Western New Mexico State University. He'll be in to talk about the border politics. A little bit of issues with him technically last time, but as you can tell, we're gradually working these all out. As a brandy new business, we face a lot of challenges here. A lot of the support and a lot of the work we've done has been without a lot of outside support. Again, Super Joel, the producer, Frank, our net guy, doing outstanding work. You'll notice one of the things we're in the process of adding tonight is a calendar of shows to coalitionradionetwork.com. Now, why have a coalitionradionetwork.com? Well, it allows us an opportunity to project the status out of the Facebook. It allows us the opportunity to broadcast out of the Facebook. Now, if you follow us on the Twitter at coalition_radio, or if you follow us on YouTube, and there's an alphabet soup link there that you can get from our page, coalitionradio.us, that I can't possibly remember, we broadcast there as well. Of course, what we're trying to do is use independent social media to whatever we can, but also not be reliant on it. Yet at the same time, if you can take a moment to like us or friend us, that would be wonderful. Because, well, again, social media relies on, I should say we rely on social media. Oof. It's been a long night already, and it's not even that late. A controversy erupted today. It turned out that one of my state reps from my town, it's not directly my state rep, turns out she's blocked me on the Twitter. Me. I'm a nice guy. I'm smart. How could you block me? All right, so I'd been a couple of times a little sarcastic about her ongoing inability to return phone calls. That's about it. For the record, I have never threatened or tried to intimidate anybody. I've only used the published phone number from the State House, or as we call it here, Halitosis Hall. I'd only called during normal hours, probably only called 4 or 5 times. When I was in my role as an activist, I'm an activist on a couple of different levels that we haven't met. At terms of votes, how was she going to vote? Where did she stand on certain issues? Now, those are legitimate questions to ask an elected representative. They just are. And I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable, having to commit ahead of time so that voters know who they should try to influence or who's on their side. Or, you ready for this? Have the elected official explain to us proactively why they support that legislation or don't. Call me crazy. Well, here we go. Didn't like it, blocked me. Well, it's illegal. You can't do that. Anyone want to Google Davison v. Randall and Loudon Board of Supervisors? Well, it turns out through the miracle of social media, when I posted that, guess what? Turns out she's been blocking other people too. Not nice. Not nice at all. So, we've already started an appropriate response. And we'll see where it goes. But if you have been blocked by your public official, feel free and reach out and message us. You can just respond to the threads we've got going on the Facebook. You can message me at Pat Ford, or you can message me at the Coalition Radio. You can tweet us at Coalition_radio. I find tweet, whether it be, our Twitter is open for direct messages. If you want to do it confidentially, if you'd like to keep it confidential, we will brook no foolishness on that. You could torture me, and I will never ever disclose a source. I just won't. And when I mean torture, I'm pretty serious. You know, you could sit me down in a room and listen to every single one of Gina Raimondo's State of the State speeches back to back to back to back to back to back. You could make me watch Disney at length. All right? And I still won't give it up. But we're contemplating some type of response. Because the arrogance of a public official who uses social media and thinks that they can select who and when and how they're going to frame their message, no. It is, as they say in Rhode Island, strictly forbidden. Because remember, in Rhode Island, was it the Stooges? If you shoot pictures, we shoot you? Nah, whatever. I'm a big Stooges fan. Anyone who could ever present to me great Stooges moments, we're all about that here. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio on the Mighty Mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio, coalitionradio.us. If you've got a take and you want to call in, please do. We'll be up for a few hours. The host with the most and the top of the hits. We got him here. We are number one with a bullet. So, this Thursday, a local political organization is going to be having, I guess they're calling it a drive around or a drive by in the area of Central Falls, where there is a prison for profit in Central Falls. And here's the deal with prisons right now. If there are folks in there for civil infractions, given the nature of how this virus works, then places like the Donald W. Wyatt Detention Facility are not the places for them to be. It's ludicrous how many Americans, how many other folks are there for civil infractions. The fact that we would put people in cages is just ludicrous. So word has it, it's going to be there'll be a protest. It will be a COVID-friendly protest, if you will. I give these folks a lot of credit. Rhode Island is a hotbed of activism. And thank God for it. Rhode Islanders don't take a lot of grief. It's frustrating when you see who they elect from time to time. But ultimately, don't take crap. Now, like I said, there's this weird dichotomy because they seem to elect a lot of the same folks who in turn use government for their own private purposes. Got to work on that, folks. There's some people up there that are just not good people. We'll just leave it at that. So we hope to have an opportunity to interview those folks. So, 401-205-3738 on the Coalition Talk Radio. We'll take it as late as people want to go. We get messages. There is a Facebook post on my personal page that talks about the good representative, Ms. Ackerman. All sorts of suggestions. all sorts of ideas. Some of them a little inappropriate. We don't go public with that. Got to keep it clean, folks. This is a family show. Woo. I know. Who are you supporting for the presidency? Are you frustrated that, in fact, choices seem to have again been made for you? Is there anybody who was or hasn't been in the primaries that you would like to see run? A little late for new entrants, particularly given the practical nature of how this election is going to be run this time around. It looks like, for all intents and purposes, it'll be a digital. What's the impact of a digital election? And how will that work for people? 401-205-3738. If you're up late, call us. We'll probably sign off in about 20 minutes or so unless we get a flurry of activity. We've got to be back here early. We're going to just take a quick station break. And we are back. The Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn free, civilly disobedient media, broadcasting live on the Worldwide Coalition Network here at the Go Local Live Broadcast Center. Quick run down the hall. A couple people listening right now. This is really our first week or so of operation. Is this your first time and you'd like to make a call in? Area code 401-205-3738. I dare you. I dare you to call. Is there a subject that you'd like to talk about? Is it COVID? Is there something about the governmental response that bothers you? Is there something about neighbors calling on the police on other neighbors? Or are you one of those folks that feels it's important to report to law enforcement what's happening with social separation? You tell me. (401-205-3738). Let me know. Hey, Wondering if people can hear me right now. Feels like we've lost signal. Folks, this week is our shakeout week. Trying new technology. Can you hear me? There's somebody out there, let me know. (401-205-3738). So you can't hear me. All right, we're going to take a look at this right now and see why that's happening. I see why. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Now you can. Thank you. We've got a listener deep in the wilds of Minnesota who can hear me, who's taken a moment of her time to listen to me. She's an integral part of the libertarian effort nationwide. Of course, she is the astonishing, the amazing Kara Schultz, who, by sheer force of will, not only is she an active legislator, a town council person, if you will, for a wonderful little town in the wilds of Minnesota. I say that with love because if you're an East Coaster, everything in the Midwest is sort of in the wild somewhere. You can't comprehend anything but. But she travels the nation when we're not locked down like this and does Kennedy training. And is integrally involved in bringing really a radically new perspective to American politics. Does all of this. Yikes. We do a show here Friday night. Well, I actually broadcast from here. It's through the Libertarian Party Television Network, LPTV we call it. It's called An Hour with the Candidates. And I'm hoping she's going to help me, I should say, work with and find local candidates who are looking for kind of a combination of publicity and opportunities to discuss local issues to a national audience. And at the same time, bring sort of a real politic back to the Libertarian Party. So I'm hoping she's going to help me with that because, Lord, I need help. So we're back into the midnight hour or so. We are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media broadcasting live on the worldwide Coalition Radio Network here at coalitionradionetwork.com. Thanks, Kara, for helping me out with that little technical burden. It turned out it was the audio equivalent of having to reboot the computer. Don't ask. So we're on our Shakeout Cruise this week. We're experimenting with a talk radio format that's being, in a sense, married to a long-form interview format that's been on the air for about 6 years. For the last 6 years or so, one night a week. At one point it was Sunday mornings. At one point it was Saturdays. Then it became, for a long time, Friday nights. We'd have a 2 or 3 hour interview show where we'd spend an hour interviewing different people from around the country, different perspectives. Progressive, libertarian. To you. Now we're trying to broaden that effort. Reach out to you via talk radio. Talk radio, of course, digitally on a computer where you can see the host, I should say. Yikes. When this COVID crisis is over, you'll be able to see the guest as well. It'll be in more of a traditional format on a set. When that makes sense, when we can engage that way. And add that to the experience. The point being to break beyond the national shows and even the handful of local shows that exist where a narrative is defined for you, and you need to follow that narrative if you want to be a fan or a patron or a listener or watcher or the viewer of the show. And so we're saying enough of that. We actually give you a talk radio experience. You can dial in at 401-205-3738. We'll have the capacity, internet-based, for you to call in while we've got a guest on the line. We can add video. The offer remains. If you're a local business out there somewhere and you're able to get to a computer which has got webcam capabilities and a microphone, and you'd like to promote your business, that somehow you've managed a way to define your business so that it remains in business during this incredible crisis, this nationwide crisis, and we'd like to hear from you, just to give you a chance to practice promoting your business and get your business out to people who might not otherwise be familiar with you, or who might just have assumed that you've shut down for the time being, God forbid, yet want to spend a few shekels with you, want to spend a little do-re-mi. Would love the opportunity. Americans, by and large, are the most generous people on the planet. Give them an opportunity to help your business simply for, well, the good feeling that comes along. Well, it's not charity, because there's mutual benefit to be had here. But when they can help a business, they feel invested in it. And they want to invest in you. So give us a shout. You can contact me at pford@coalitionradio.us. You can, on the Mighty Mighty Twitter, at coalition_radio. Reach out to our page on the Facebook if you can like us at Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio. Subscribe to us on the YouTube. You know, we're even on Periscope now. Reach out and touch the world in a manner which, despite the astonishing video, the capability of the internet, have a conversation with somebody as opposed to merely just exchanging 140 characters or merely an instant message with someone. Actually talk to them. And as a result, allow other people to hear your contributions, your thoughts. Again, Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio. So, what's concerning you right now? Obviously, overwhelming, if you will, seemingly everything is what's going on with COVID. If you got a story to tell, or if you'd like to talk about that, give me a call. 401-205-3738. We were talking earlier about a controversy. We've got a state representative who feels like it's okay to block people on social media. Let's just say the courts would tell you that it's not okay. That, as we say, particularly as certain political groups like to say, is established case law. You can't do that. If we have to go to court to get that reversed just on sheer principle, we certainly will. We He certainly will. Facebook, by the way, has had a feature that they've really pumped up. They call it Your Story. And it's really kind of remarkable. You get to put up a couple paragraphs, maybe a picture, a link. It's something you want to put out there. We're fortunate in that we'll get 70, 100 people to see something. We'll get to promote something. It's really remarkable how social media has dovetailed with the exponential increase in technology that would allow you to run a show like this. So on a given day, 500, 700, 1,000 people, sometimes more, run across your show and watch it, who might never even have heard or known who seen who you are. Tomorrow morning we'll have the great Sam Bell on. Yeah, I'm a libertarian, and I just said that. I consider Sam a friend. We agree to disagree on a whole lot of things, but as I pointed out to him the other day when we were having a conversation, I said, we agree on a lot. Where we want to end up, it's kind of how we get there that can be a little different, but So, got something you want to call in and talk about? Let me know. 401-205-3738, coalitionradionetwork.com. Double checking the timeline. It is now about 12:12. Wednesday morning. News breaking last night that John Prine, really a national treasure, country, folk, and rock performer, passed away, 73 years old. COVID-19 symptoms. Whether or not that was what actually took his life, we'll never really know, but it would appear that he was one of those folks for whom this terrible illness seemed to prey. John Prine left us at the age, 73 years too young. What's seemingly even more tragic about this illness is how many folks it has taken from us who were performers, who had really, really given a lot to us. 401-205-3738. CoalitionRadioNetwork.com. We are working on integrating music into this as well. That's a challenge because of licensing issues. If you broadcast over the YouTube, Facebook very sensitive about copyrights. Very sensitive about that. So that's a work in progress. There are, and starting something else like this, there are a million loose ends. There are so many different things to consider when you're doing this. So, but if you're out there, let us know what you think. 401-205-3738. Looks like people have gone to bed for tonight. So I think we're going to call it for an evening. Appreciate all those folks that joined us this evening. We'll be at it early tomorrow. God bless Sam Bell. Sam Bell joins us at 9:15. We're going to do a little web work offline. We're going to see firsthand how we can put up all our upcoming guests. That'll be right on the front page of Facebook.com. CoalitionRadioNetwork.com. And, of course, if you like us on the Facebook, you'll get regular notifications when we're in the air. Thanks, everyone, for listening tonight. Have a wonderful evening.
get caught.
So hold on, should I be looking at the lens or should I be looking at someone else? Look at the lens. Look at the lens? So I just tried the e-commerce feature from Webflow. What? Yeah. You can decide it here. Oh, what? Oh, dude, this is so cool. Oh, dude, this is great. Yeah. Incredibly powerful. You're making things too easy, my friends, okay? I'm just blown away.